Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. A Florida man has been convicted for taking the life of a 14-year-old girl who he was having a relationship with.
6:33 this morning, sentencing set to begin in the capital case against Ronnie Walker.
Just this week, the 47-year-old was convicted of first-degree murder in the shooting death of a teenage girl in Tampa. 10 Tampa Bay's Christina Mendez live outside the Hillsborough County Courthouse now. Christina, this is a landmark court hearing.
Caitlin and Jameson, this is the first capital case here in Hillsborough County to move forward under a new Florida law. Right now, the jury can decide to recommend a death sentence if 8 out of 12 jurors recommend to do so. Before, it had to be a unanimous decision, and that penalty phase gets underway starting at 10 o'clock this morning. It is the same jury that convicted Ronnie Walker of first-degree murder in the 14-year-old's shooting death case that happened back in May 2022. Prosecutors say he drove the victim to a dead end in Tampa Heights, turned off his lights, and shot Nilexia Alexander multiple times after an argument. The teen's cell was left inside his car, which helped detectives track his movements. Another man who was there at the time of the murder pleaded guilty as an accessory. We did talk to Nilexia's mother after the verdict earlier this week.
I could see her smiling down and say, "You did it, Mom. You did it. You did not give up. You stood in the paint." As she would say, you stood in the paint. And I did. I did this for her. We fought for her.
Now this next phase could go into next week, at least until Monday, it is expected, as well as the defense to bring up some evidence that could help him avoid the death penalty.
Yeah, and Christina, publicly here, we've heard a lot about Walker's past, but on the state side this morning, this will likely mark the first opportunity for jurors to hear details about Walker's past violent crimes.
Yeah, that's right. The state will be able to bring this up to the jury for the very first time. 10 Tampa Bay covered one of his previous convictions back in 2003. He actually killed a woman during a home invasion, and that was Elaine Caldwell. He was actually convicted of first-degree murder in that case, was sentenced to life in prison, but was actually overturned, accepted a plea deal in that case, got 8 years, but with time served, only ended up spending about 5 years behind bars for that case. We'll see what happens in this first set of hearings this morning for this current conviction that he's facing again in Nilexia Alexander's murder. Live in Tampa this morning, Christina Mendez, 10 Tampa Bay.
Christina, thank you.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place in 2022, Ronnie Walker was involved in a sexual relationship with 14-year-old Nilexia Alexander. Now, Nilexia Alexander had run away from home and was running away from home because what she wanted to do was find her birth parents because she was adopted. And as she was on this journey to find her birth parents, this is where she was involved in a relationship with Ronnie Walker, an adult man. And as she was involved in this relationship with Ronnie Walker, they had a sexual situation that was going on between them. And as this inappropriate encounters were going on, allegedly what happened was Ronnie Walker had a girlfriend, and that girlfriend contracted a venereal disease. And as he believed that Nilexia Alexander gave him this venereal disease, he basically wanted to get even with Nilexia Alexander for giving his girlfriend this venereal disease and also busting him out for cheating with her. Now, according to these reports, this is where Ronnie Walker then picked up Nilexia Alexander, drove her to a field with another individual in the vehicle, and after going out here and driving her to this location, this is where he wound up allegedly shooting and killing Nilexia Alexander, then leaving her in a field. and then after leaving her in a field, allegedly, possibly, again, getting rid of the gun. But eventually what happened was, as the adopted parents were looking for Nilexia Alexander, they then found her body, and as an investigation went on, one of the Ronnie Walker's friends, Robert Creed, then was an accessory to the crime, then confessed to witnessing all of what was going on, and this is what led to Ronnie Walker being put on trial for the murder of Nilexia Alexander and eventually getting convicted. Now, the jury is still looking to debate whether Ronnie Walker should be given the death penalty in Florida, and many still believe this to be an isolated incident. But when I take a critical examination of the behavior of Ronnie Walker and the behavior of Nilexia Alexander, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that Ronnie Walker definitely was a man in crisis. Again, a very sick man as related to what I talk about in chapters called the sexual frustration of the beta male and the sexual deviancy of the beta male, because this sexual predator basically preyed on this teenager and hoped to exploit this child for his pleasures, not thinking about doing what was right. Now, Ronnie Walker had already been convicted of taking the life of another person, which shows, again, a pattern of malice, of forethought. But the whole thing is that this grown man already knew that this was a child, and encountering this child, should have been contacting those in law enforcement to make sure that this minor was taken into custody. But instead of looking to do that, this piece of garbage, basically what he looked to do was hope to take advantage of this girl, take advantage of this child who basically was trying to figure out who she was and where she came from, and look to take advantage of her, and take advantage of her by abusing her body as related to this sexual abuse that he perpetrated on this young girl who knew nothing about anything. I mean, this grown man already knew that this girl was only 14 years old, but still went out here and got involved with this girl. And as he was getting involved with this girl, he was out here with his girlfriend, again, getting with both of this grown woman and this child. And as he was out here with this, in this situation, eventually what happened was one of them got a venereal disease, and he basically, after getting this venereal disease, he wound up realizing that he was basically busted as related to the affair he was having with this child. And this is where this beta male basically escalated the situation, because he was simmering and boiling in anger because his secret world had been revealed. Because when it comes down to these beta males, again, they look to go out here and have relationships with underage minors because they want to have power as related to a situation. Now, this guy had, again, already had a conviction already as related to the crimes that he had already committed, and he basically was feeling frustrated and powerless about his life, and he felt even more powerless as related to his relationship in the secret world, because, again, when he got with this 14-year-old girl, it was all about him having power in the secret world, having power to basically abuse the body of this child. And as he was out here abusing the body of this child, he was hoping to make his world smooth, where he would be able to have his girlfriend in the real world, and then have this relationship with this underage minor in the secret world. However, once that venereal disease was revealed as related to that whole situation, it basically blew up his spot. And after it blew up his spot, this is where Ronnie Walker decided to look to get even with this 14-year-old girl for something that she didn't even know what she was doing, didn't even know how or understand what she was doing at 14 years old. And that's where he sought to go with Robert Creed and bring this 14-year-old girl into his vehicle, Nilexia Alexander, bring her into his vehicle, and that's where he decided to get even with her by pulling out that firearm and then shooting this girl. And like many of these type of deviants, because they have no connection to people and don't, again, have any sort of humanity, basically after he took this teenage girl's life, this is where this guy, basically Ronnie Walker, basically felt he just saw her as just garbage and again discarded her body, left it in a field, and then went on with his life, keeping his world smooth. That's what beta males do, because beta males don't see people as people. No, they see people as objects. And Ronnie Walker is a reprehensible human being because he saw this child who was in danger, not as a child, but as an object to basically satisfy his deviant sexual pleasures, because any grown man knows what a child looks like and knows a child, again, is out here. And again, a man who cares about children, what he's going to do is if he sees a child running away, he's going to contact law enforcement and let them take that child into custody and let Child Protective Services protect that child. That's what a man of character would do. But when it comes to beta males, they don't see children as people. No, they see them as objects they can exploit in the secret world. And sadly, what happened here is that this 14-year-old girl basically wound up getting targeted by this predator, who wound up preying on her, and again abusing her body, and basically again saw her not as a human being, because the way he looked to take her life again just shows how much of a monster this man is, and shows us why those beta males who participate in sex crimes are some of the most dangerous men in society. Again, some of the most dangerous men, because these men are completely detached as related to being human. They have no regard for people. They have no regard for the sanctity of human life. They have no regard for anyone at all. And that's what makes these men extremely dangerous, because their whole perception of sex is about looking to gratify themselves, and without ever considering their partners, and not ever considering that their partners are human beings. And that's what makes these guys some of the most dangerous individuals to wind up dealing with. But sadly, Nilexia Alexander didn't know the danger she was in. No, this lost, confused adolescent was just trying to figure out where she came from, because she was adopted and just basically had all these questions that she wanted to answer. And in the case of adoption, it's very hard to get those answers. And she possibly was living in a troubled home where she was just trying to figure this stuff out. And as she was trying to figure this stuff out, she felt she couldn't get the answers. And again, with her being an adolescent, she was in testing boundaries. So this young lady basically didn't have anybody there to give her any sort of guidance, and she sought to find things on her own. But sadly, as she looked to find things on her own, this is where she wound up running into this, again, predator. And this predator basically preyed on this girl, and made her a child in crisis, again, a young lady in crisis, who again was an innocent here. And because this man, again, who was abusing this girl's body, and I will call it the abuse that it is, because this is just deviant abuse, because again, a 14-year-old girl doesn't understand about sex, about the overall emotions of sex or the decisions that they're making. They don't understand that when it comes to sex, again, this is something that two people do when they want to come together, and an act of love. No, this girl was looking for love, and as she was looking for love, she was basically taken advantage of. She was taken advantage of by this guy, who again looked to prey on her. That's what I want people to understand, because yes, you may know what sex is at 14 years old. You may know what the body parts are, but you don't understand what you're doing emotionally or mentally. And this guy, again, was abusing this girl, and as he got caught up and wound up being revealed for having this, again, deviant sexual relationship, and had his spot blown up, because he was upset that his world would no longer be smooth, this is his motive to again take this girl's life, because he wanted to get even with her for messing his spot up. And she didn't even mess his spot up. No, this guy messed his own spot up. He messed his own spot up. This deviant basically was out here again looking for someone to take advantage of, but wound up again getting himself caught up. And as he got upset about her alleged promiscuity, he couldn't see how his hands were dirty. His hands were dirty from minute one, because again, an actual man of character, when he sees a child in front of him, again, I'll repeat it once more, he's calling Child Protective Services and letting them know, okay, this kid is here, and they need to be taken care of, because you understand there are more important things. And again, there are just things that are right to do. When you see a child somewhere, you want to protect the child. But this guy didn't care about that at all. And since he didn't care about that at all he was thinking about was getting, again, a taste of the ways from the special place. Again, just disgraceful behavior. And now this guy basically, again, the scum, basically is in a place where he belongs. And he's out here, again, he was out here abusing this girl's body when he was out here, and again, discarded her like trash in that field. Well, he's going to reap what he sows when he gets inside of the penitentiary and has to deal with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, and they hear what he did to this child. That's when they're going to go out here and have this guy reap what he sows, greater than what he sows, later than what he sows, as they wind up trading him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, and all the items of the commissary. And this guy will get everything he deserves inside of that penitentiary if he's put there for the rest of his life. And if he possibly has to wait for the death penalty, he will also get what he deserves, because this guy basically is the sickest of the sickest of the sick out here. And again, shows you how just depraved these guys are as related to these beta males. I didn't go into the commissary list in depth because of the depravity of this crime as it was perpetrated on a minor. And again, it just disgusts me all around, because the only place this guy belongs is in that penitentiary to suffer all that he has done to this child. But it just shows me, again, how disturbed these guys are and how dangerous these guys are out here who are beta males as related to sex and sexuality. And again, these are some of the most dangerous males in this whole situation. And when it comes down to these guys, you have to proceed with caution, because these males are, again, extremely dangerous. And again, some of the most dangerous men that you'll ever confront as related to situations. And sadly, this young girl wound up again becoming a target of this sick and depraved man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of a beta male and learn how to either help out someone in your life and help them change their life, or help to avoid someone like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about The Man Crisis, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.